Rage against the regime. That's a feeling of plenty of Americans across the country against the current federal government. Case in point, the Houthi militia busted by the FBI over the weekend that allegedly hatched a plot to incite a war against the government. We're talking about guns and a whole lot of things that blow up. Although not all disaffected Americans are willing to pack some heat, the anger against government is growing. One such group, the Oath Keepers, and its leader, Stuart Rhodes, who is joining us now. Mr. Rhodes, thank you so much for joining us from your home, it looks like, over there. Talk to us just about, first of all, there are militia members who are kind of associated with violence and guns and weapons training and all that. And then there are people out there, maybe such as yourself, who don't advocate violence but still are just enraged with the way the federal government is now operating. Can you discuss with us that a little bit more?
Well, I mean, first of all, Oath Keepers is not a militia, so
right.
I'm not sure why you're asking me about militias. Oath Keepers is an association of military and police in particular, most of them active duty, quite a few veterans. But the main focus of my organization is to make sure that the military and police simply do not violate the Constitution, don't violate the Bill of Rights. That's our perspective. But I'm certainly happy to talk about what I see going on in the country in general.
Well, then how do you go about making sure, and tell us just the methodology from your group about making sure, and let me just clarify here, not that we were trying to make any sort of association with your group and militias or any sort of violence here, but when it comes to your group specifically, to share your expressions about anger against the federal government and making sure the people who are in power do follow the Constitution to the T, how does your group and you yourself, how do you guys go about doing something like that?
Well, my focus is not anger, but it's concern. I was concerned during the Bush years. During the Bush administration, I was a student at Yale Law School, and I wrote a paper there that won the award for best paper on the Bill of Rights, attacking and criticizing the Bush doctrine of enemy combatant status, being able to black bag anybody, even an American citizen. And so this is a continuation of that same concern, and most of my membership are also of the same mindset. We didn't like what Bush was doing. We don't like what Obama's doing. So it's very consistent, and as opposed to like a partisan hack who only cares about the Constitution when his party's not in power. That is certainly the case with like Michelle Malkin, for example, or maybe Rush Limbaugh, people like that who didn't say anything about what Bush was doing but now are screaming from the rafters, that Obama is unconstitutional. So we're much more consistent, and our perspective is this. I've seen enough of the lying politicians and lying judges to know that there's not much hope there. If we're going to stop America from destroying itself, basically, the way to do it peacefully is to have the military and police understand the Constitution and simply refuse to follow unconstitutional orders. And I don't know why that's so controversial. They have an obligation, a legal duty already to disobey unlawful orders, well established in military law. It flows right out of Article 6 of the Constitution, which requires an oath by all officers at every level of government, federal and local. And so we're simply saying, keep that oath, and the way to do that is understand the Constitution and have certain lines in the sand you will not cross.
And just as a point of clarification, once again, not that we are tying your group to the militia or to any sort of violence, but do you feel as if maybe, and I'm just saying, I'm asking this question because I had read a little bit of criticism, that do you feel at all as if the philosophy from which you guys operate in some ways fans the flames of maybe some of these militias and maybe some people on the more radical sides of the Tea Party movement? And I'm sure it sounds like you were kind of tired of answering this question.
Right, sure. I mean, yes, there are some seriously bad things happening in this country, and there is a long train of abuses, which is very much like the long train of abuses suffered by our forefathers, which they enunciated in the Declaration of Independence. You have, like I said, during the Bush years, the NSA spying on Americans, and the claim was that as commander-in-chief he could treat America as though it were a battlefield. The claim that he could detain any American citizen in military detention or even tried by military tribunal. These are all claimed powers that Obama has not renounced. The bailouts are another big one, and a lot of folks are upset about the Bush bailouts, and they're upset about Obama continuing the same program of just turning our country into an oligarchy, and they're concerned about the economic destruction in the United States. I mean, let's get real. We're facing potential economic collapse, and that's not some pie in the sky, conspiracy, tinfoil hat conspiracy. It's just historic fact and reality. This is what happens to countries when they have fiat currencies and they continue to print, 24/7. And so we're facing these terrible, erosions of our rights and also a potential economic collapse. And so many Americans are very nervous. But I have liberals in my organization too. Maybe you don't realize that, but we have liberals that say, hey, as long as you're consistent, as long as you really defend the Bill of Rights, then we're good, you know?
Okay.
So,
Stuart Rhodes, you are a very peaceful man. Your organization is a very peaceful man, but you guys are all constitutional watchdogs, and thank you for that. Thank you for joining us today.